success in growing anything. You need some kind of calendar just to enable you to know when to plant seeds if you become an agricultural society. So obviously there's a calendar sort of process here as well, which is fairly obvious, and we kind of overlook it because we know exactly when everything is. We don't need to learn it. You know, it's kind of everything's given to us by society. So they had to learn it themselves, and they should know on a day, monthly, daily basis, and they could measure all the cycles with these stone circles, amongst other things.
So it's some of these complexes basically are multifaceted. The purpose of these are probably not just one main purpose. We're talking about multiple things here, right?
Absolutely. I mean, something also, if you look at it from a human perspective, think about how much work it is to build one of these things.
Yeah.
That is going to have more than one function. It has to have for that amount of time and effort. And I think this is the same with the pyramids. They're multi-purpose. Lots of things, lots of different functions. And one of the thing that gets me is that they were very advanced. You can see that. Just look at the Great Pyramid. When you start looking into that, it's like mind-boggling.
Yeah.
And even just the simple sites in England as well. Some of the geometries that Alexander Tom's rediscovered, and even landscape geometries between sites all across Britain or the world is just again, it's just quite awe-inspiring.
Indeed. If we go back and just touch briefly again on some of the crop circles, what people have suggested is that this is some kind of multi-dimensional, object or energy or what have you that is passing through our dimensions, meaning that the template is put down, so to speak, the shadow of this object or this energy moving through. Do you think that this could be also kind of a potentially, let's say that there's a higher geometry going on here, a fractal geometry around these sites, and could this then be a side effect, if you will, of that energy that is surrounding this type of area? Avery, around Stonehenge, these sites get a lot of these crop circles nearby.
Yeah, I mean, well, this comes back to the crystalline rock idea as well. How crystal holds energy and is you can program crystal to do things, and so and the whole sort of telecommunications and internet and computer industry is based upon quartz crystal, which is in a majority in a lot of rock, and I think that has an influence. So, I mean, the thing with the crop circles is that regardless of if they're made by people, they're made by ETs or whoever makes them, when you look at them and just observe them and just study them, forget who made them, just look at it for what it is.
Right.
Study it and then go into it and kind of look at the geometry, look at the placement in the landscape, look at the symbolism. That alone is the same kind of, it's quite a high level of different things going on.
Incredibly high.
With respect, if they can make things like that, then wow, we're at a good level of consciousness as humans.
That's right.
So whoever makes them, they're there for a purpose, and they seem to be connected with Earth energies. They mark ley lines, which is kind of standard thing people have worked out. One of the bits of research I'm probably going to have time to do in about 2 years is, if anyone wants to start doing that, great, let me know, is the placement of crop circles over the years and see what patterns and distances and geometries they form, because I think there could be a clue there, because if we're looking at ancient sites from that perspective, looking at the placement of them and geometries they form and so forth, then perhaps crop circles have similar principles.
Right.
But the crop circle is a very unusual and the most interesting modern mystery. It's going to be looked back on. If they suddenly stop, they're going to be looked back on as one of the most amazing things that ever happened to the world. And everyone now is laughing at them because they think they're hoaxes and they're silly and blokes with planks and that, which, but people just they're not looking at it from the levels they're designed to be looked at it from.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They're quite high level stuff. You've got to kind of really push yourself to kind of even accept them to start with.
Exactly. Well, it's not for everyone. You need a kind of you have to come over a certain threshold, if you will, in order to really appreciate what it is.
Yeah, I mean, the biggie is just not worrying who or what makes them, just studying them.
Yeah, exactly.
That gets away half the battle. You get out of the way, then you can just let's look at this like art.
Yeah, exactly. It's beautiful art. That's correct. And then, what about this idea about? I mean, we have talked loads about energy here today, and obviously, if we talk about energy, that the mass of all the energy that does exist, so to speak, in our solar system, as we know of, primarily is the sun right now, and things are suggestively changing on the sun. It's been very quiet now for a long period of time, potentially peaking here upcoming in the next couple of years. But do you think that, like, universally, that these things are all connected, meaning that if the energy, the property of the energy, or more energy would come into our solar system, or even just come from the sun and then consequently affect the planet, our planet, do you think that would change the circumstances about all these different things, meaning that if we potentially backtrack and look in the Neolithic era, could it be that the energies were so different back then that they, for instance, across these energy lines, grid lines, they could actually magnetically or energetically charge some of these stones because the level of energy was much higher than it is today, and that would utilize them to lift rocks very easily and things like that? And having said that, you think it's possible that we potentially could be moving into that type of era again?
Okay, that's a very good question. Yes. Well, yes to the second part. I think we are moving into another golden age, as the way I'm kind of see it. But I don't mean like it's going to be new agey and we're all going to be kind of in robes, dancing around or anything like that. But I mean, there's going to be. I think that the consciousness level is going to rise, and it is rising. For sure. All this psychic kid stuff kind of totally suggests that. Whether it's the same as what we were before, I don't know, but we're definitely going somewhere different and very good on that kind of level, from a sort of spiritual perspective. Back then, yeah, I mean, people know that it's been known that it was quite a very warm climate back in the Neolithic times, much warmer than it is now. I think 1 or 2 degrees even. So overall, that's quite a lot, and it'd be just beautiful weather from like March to probably December. It'd be much nicer than it is now, And so they know the climate was different. So if that was it that much different, I don't know. But there are these lots of stories about these very tall people, which they've even found skeletons in Cambridge, in Cherry Hinton, where I'm from, which is about 7.5 feet tall, kind of race. And these echo a lot of the legend of the site. So there's very tall people. So I'm interested about why they were so tall, and a lot of people believe it's because there's even far out theories that there was different. Gravity wasn't so strong then, so people would grow taller. So,
right.
And also that the energies were so different, they would be super vital energy. But a lot of people relate it even to monatomic gold as well. But I think there's something different energetically back then. It just depends, what level we were at back then as well, and if it was just an elite group building all these sites, traveling,
right.
or whatever, they knew how to navigate, or whether it was a general kind of thing. I sort of believe it's possibly a group who were teachers who were travelling the world, these Viracocha, Quetzalcoatl sort of chaps, and Cyrus, Tuatha-Dé-Danann, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And yet they helped raise consciousness, within people, and the arts of civilization, teaching the liberal arts and so forth. And to me, like, the crop circles are like it's almost like a symbol of how it would be done today in this modern society. It's teaching the same kind of stuff, but from in a completely different way. So I don't know how that is or how that works, or if that's got any meaning. But I think there seems to be this raising of consciousness, and this seems to be what's happened back then. And then the preceding megalithic era was the sort of golden age of this knowledge travelling around the world, and this wisdom and this compassion. Now we're in a very different kind of world, society, technological, and there's other ways we get to that same level, but somehow we get it,
Right.
External source.
Exactly, and picking up on the note that things were different, I have heard theories from different scholars talking about, for instance, the amount of oxygen in the atmosphere, things like this, that if there were a catastrophe, these are some of the properties that would potentially have been lost during that catastrophe. But before that, there could have been much more oxygen and also consequently carbon monoxide in the atmosphere, meaning that it was a much kind of more plentiful planet, if you will, richer in its yields and things like this. And consequence of that could be that people grew taller. Have you heard about that?
Yes, I have heard something about. I think Edmund informed me about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, but no, he's just briefly mentioned it to me. No, I didn't. No, I'd like to. That would be an interesting factor to look into, because again, there's so many unanswered questions. Really, when we start drifting that far back into time, and I think there's a lot of blocks about how we find out that information as well.
Sure.
One example, very, it's actually, I think it was from your website, from the Vatican. They brought out these 7,000-year-old beautiful art pots,
yeah,
Eastern Europe.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. This is actually an amazing find, and that's just one little thing that got out of the Vatican vault.
Exactly.
What else is in there?
Yeah.
I think we should put something out there to find out, because this is, we have a right to know our past. Cause I think there's a lot going on in there, and there's a lot of private collections around the world, which gives the true sort of story of our history.
Yeah, exactly.
Way back. And so we need to kind of get some solidity on that.
I think we're basically given the breadcrumbs, if you will, of some of the amazing stuff that they do have, or access to.
It makes it more fun though for us researchers. We'll try and find these things out, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Finding a needle in a haystack. But yet, I mean, even that, with that being said, there are amazing discoveries happening all the time, and new information is coming to light all the time that kind of slowly but surely builds an image of what has taken place and what has been going on,
Yeah, so I mean these Bosnian pyramids have completely blown me away. We had this guy Samir Sam Osmanagic come over from Bosnia, who runs the foundation over there to sort of promote and the things they're finding over there are just amazing. The whole there's a big opening up of the whole Eastern European thing in the last 10 or 15 years, where a lot of the archaeology wasn't really researched, or it wasn't recorded. Or if it was just put away by the sort of people in power. But now it's all coming out again.
Yeah.
People are studying the landscape again and finding amazing things. And there's going to be a lot being found, I think, in these regions, in the Ukraine and Bosnia, Croatia, and so forth, and even into Albania and so on.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah. Opening there happening. So.
Why don't we do like this, Hugh, that in the last 20 minutes or so that we have left here in this segment, talk a little bit about some of the research that you did with when it comes to the indigo chill. And this is something that we haven't kind of addressed at all in length, at least on the program. And if you will, kind of lead us into the topic and give us kind of a brief overview for people who are not at all familiar with this concept.
Well, it does actually kind of fit in what we've been talking about, how there seems to be a shift, an awareness raising, shifting consciousness. There's something going on, and it's certainly noticeable sort of a new age scene, if you like, around the world, and people wanting to visit ancient sites, and people wanting to learn from the ancient traditions like the Native Americans and so forth, and the Druids. There's a lot of this going on. It's big, it's a big business for a lot of people. So, and I think what's happening is this shifting consciousness is the first sort of signs of that, really, that are kind of proving that there's something going on, beyond our understanding. That if you like the bigger picture, is that a lot of kids nowadays. This has been going on for 20 odd years now. Some of them are young adults. That there's many are born with these very amazing abilities, which they've been termed indigo kids, but they're also, what doctors would say have learning disorders and so forth, like ADHD, DD, even one called ODD, odd, oppositional defiant disorder. And so they keep making up these different things, really, which is, some of them are valid, but there's obviously, at the same time, there's this very high IQ thing going on with kids as well. There's lots of, it's like 30% of kids has been recorded that had, they tested, all the IQ tests were in the genius range, which is unheard of.